In this presentation, we are going to look at the Omani Empire influence in East African coastal region. The Omani Empire, which was situated in the present-day Oman, was a very powerful empire that was established in Arab land, precisely in the southeastern part of Arab land. Because of trading activities, mainly long-distance trade, the merchants from Oman had some level of interactions, business interactions in the East African coastal region. This was because of the fact that some merchants and also some sellers from Oman mastered the method or the best method of navigating the Arabian Sea. And that the Arabian Sea, within the water body of that region, was a very efficient transportation or transmission point for long distance businesses or trades between the Omani region, the East African coast, and in extension the Indian area. The long distance trading activity of these Omani merchants made a good number of Arabs to have some level of influence in East Africa. Well, there is this historical analysis that stated that the interaction between the Arabs and the African locals, Africans that were actually the original inhabitants of that place, led to the creation of this Swahili language. Well, the coming of these Arabs made some level of impact, but going down to the issues or development that gave rise to the influence of the Omani Empire in the East African coastal region, we bring in some actions, activities, and influences of the Portuguese. Precisely at the time, the Portuguese took control of Omani Empire. This did not go down well with the Omani Empire or with the people in Omani Empire. In the very first place, the Portuguese or Portugal was a Christian nation, an European nation, coming to take control of a Muslim political unit. For this reason, the Omani people came together, dropped their differences in order to fight and to chase out the Portuguese, which they successfully did. When they did this, they were able to record some level of prominence. And now, after taking over the Omani Empire, the Portuguese also had influence, political influence, on the East African coastal areas. Well, the success of the Omani Empire in chasing out the Portuguese, which was actually done under an Omani king called Ahmed bin Said. Ahmed bin Said. The people in the in the East African coastal region that were under the dominance of the Portuguese looked or requested help from the Omani Empire in order to deal with the influence of the Portuguese. This the Omani Empire decided to do. Well, but before the intervention of the Omani Empire in chasing away or removing the influence of the Portuguese, the Arabs were already, some Arabs have already established their influence, established their presence in the East African coastal region. where the Omani Empire helped and successfully chased away the Portuguese influence in the East African region. But they utilized that opportunity to start instituting their own influence. What they did was to appoint governors in each of the political states, or each of the states within the East African coastal region. Zanzibar, there was Zanzibar, there was Pemba, there was the Lamu, there was the and some other ones. Now, yes, when they really put up all these influences, because the East African coastal areas and Omani Empire wasn't in the same geographical zone. So it was difficult a bit for the Omani king, as at that period the title of the king was the Imam, for the Omani Empire Imam to control the East African region. This made some of these leaders, some of these governors appointed by the Omani Empire to start creating some adventural activities. Though a good number of them are appointed by the Omani Empire or the Omani king were of Arab background. Most of them started working towards their own independence. And this did not actually go down well with the king in Omani land. The adventurous activities of these governors appointed by the Omani Empire did not go down well with the king or the rulers of the Omani Empire. Well, they actually didn't rush into trying to forcefully remove the influences of these governors. But under the reign of Sayyid Said decided to make a move to strongly enshrine the control of Omani Empire. He had the intention of moving the capital of Omani Empire, or his capital, from Muscat. Muscat was the capital of Omani Empire. He had the intention of moving his capital from Muscat to Zanzibar. Zanzibar also was an island, or is an island, within the East African coastal area. With this intention, he knew that the only way for him to succeed is to put permanent influence within that area. This he did by first trying to use the issue of divide and rule. He started looking for opportunities to wade into local quarrels within the East African area, region. Remember that most of the people that were actually controlling this area were of Arab background, earlier appointed by the king in Oman. But because there was no unity within them, there were always issues of disagreement. So Sayyid Said started capitalizing on these disagreements in order to start bringing control, Omani control in the region. And most of the leaders, or most of the rulers of the East African coast were the Mazuri Arabs. Well, with this method, Sayyid Said was able to take control of a good number of those regions by removing the governors that were unloyal and replacing them with the ones that are loyal. Besides, he also started targeting Mombasa. But Mombasa, as at that period, was under the Mombasa leader, the Mazuri Arab leader that was in charge of Mombasa, ran to the British. The British gave him some level of protection. But at the time, the British wedged between having to deal with the Mazuri Arab leader of Mombasa, and Sayyid Said. Upon analysis, the British found out that it would be rewarding for them to deal with Sayyid Said in the area of business instead of the Mombasa Mazuri leader. So they removed the protection that they earlier gave to the Mombasa Mazuri leader. This gave Sayyid Said the opportunity to take over Mombasa. Having taken over Mombasa, the whole place became very clear for Sayyid Said, and he was able to put up the influence of the Omani Empire within that region. To permanently make this possible, he moved his capital, he moved his seat of power from Muscat, which was in Oman, to Zanzibar. Well, it was difficult for him to control because the two regions, because these two regions were not located the same place. There was a very long distance water body that only needed to be covered with boats, with ships. And to cover this water body, or to cover the Arabian Sea between the East African region to Oman, or Omani Empire, took almost 3 months. So what Sayyid Said was doing was that when he was at Zanzibar, he will appoint a wali, somebody that will be temporarily in charge of the political situation in Omani Empire. When he moves to Omani Empire, he appoints someone also that will be temporarily in charge of the situation or political situation in Zanzibar and other parts of East African region. Under Sayyid Said, the East African coast, the business in East African coast flourished. Merchants were able to move inroad into the hinterland in order to get most of the goods that were needed. Goods like slaves, ivory, were exchanged with a whole lot of other goods coming from both European goods and also some from Arab land. Now the question was, why did Sayyid Said decide to move his capital from Oman to East Africa or to Zanzibar? The reason was this: the East African coastal region was very influential and economically vibrant, in the sense that businesses or long distance businesses were conducted or done through that region. Most of the merchants or ships of the merchants went through that region, and businesses were done within that region. And then the area also had very deep sea harbors, which were very prominent and very important in ship navigation. Another point was that the environmental conditions of Zanzibar was better off in comparison with Oman. Zanzibar had a very serene environment, very nice environmental conditions, unlike the hot weather and the sandy situation that is in the Omani Empire region. Another point was as well that Sayyid Said knew that the only way he could do very important business with the Europeans was mainly on the East African coastal region. For this reason, he moved his capital to Zanzibar. But it was so difficult for him to control the two regions. But one thing that was very problematic for him was that when he was in Oman, there were always, most times there might be issues, or there was issues in the East African region based on revolts and all that. When he was spending time in the East African region, the Omani Empire region witnessed some issues. Mainly there was high level of disunity in the Omani Empire region, which needed only a very strong king or a very strong imam to put together. Well, before the entrance of the political or the control of Sayyid Said, the title changed from Oman to Sayyid. This became a very strong issue. Some historians recorded that Sayyid Said died or was drowned in the ocean as he was heading back to. He actually went that he went to Oman to handle a political uprising there. That on his way returning back to Zanzibar, his boat capsized and he died. Well, the bottom line was that Sayyid Said was a very prominent leader or king or ruler of the both the East African coastal areas and Omani Empire. His influence was so great, and the economic situation and growth generally of the area was so outstanding. We want to introduce a new thing where we'll be putting up an academically written document of total history of any of our presentation, which will make available the link through which you can get the full document of the history of any of our presentation. Very soon we will actually release the one for Omani Empire and East African region. Detailed history, detailed and academically written history of that area. Once it's ready, we will pin it down in the comments section so that you will know. And then we will also produce a video letting you know that almost all our presentations that we've done documentations on them. That will help us also to make people to understand the full history of any of our presentations, because by the end of the day we do just summary presentation or areas of separate presentation because of the possible distance a video presentation can carry. Thanks for being part of this our channel. Please, if you are watching us for the first time, help us by subscribing, and we will as well accept any form of support from you. Thanks for being part of this channel.